guys, Elevation 44. It's your girl B. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back, family. Today we are diving all into this Sagittarius new moon and solar eclipse, okay? So this Sagittarius new moon is going to be quite powerful because we're going to be experiencing that total solar eclipse, okay? And this is happening on December 4th. And it's happening at 2:42 a.m. and that's Eastern time. So for some of you, depending on what part of the world you're in, this will be happening for you on the evening of December 3rd, okay? So you wanna make sure you translate that to your local time zone. This moon is going to be happening at 12 degrees, okay? And if you're new to the channel, hello, hi, welcome. But we always get into the degrees and break down the numerology just so that we can have further insight to the energies that are at play during the time of these, you know, new moons, full moons, eclipses, whatever, okay? So 12 degrees is broken down into the number 3 because 1 + 2 is 3, and 3 in numerology is ruled by the planet Jupiter. It has a lot of Jupiterian influence in it. So we're talking about optimism, we're talking about creativity, playfulness, but it also emphasizes the fact that we can lack discipline in certain areas of our lives, okay? So number 3 is that Jupiterian energy. It's very prevalent throughout this entire eclipse energy, in addition to this being a Sagittarius new moon. This is a Sagittarius eclipse, which means that, you know, Jupiter is also in play there because Jupiter rules over Sagittarius. So the Jupiterian energy is very, very strong throughout this entire new moon eclipse placement, okay? So let's just kind of get into it, break it all down. What does a new moon mean? If you're new to working with lunar energy or just new to astrology in general, what is a new moon? A new moon is really about, you know, the time where there's like a reset button that comes up, if you want to think of it that way. It's almost like a button that you can reset and start putting new things down, right? So if you think of it as a whiteboard, you wipe your whiteboard clean and then you start writing new things on your whiteboard. So think of it that way. We also like to talk about it in terms of like seasonal, you know, in the spring you plant your seeds, right? So that you can bear fruit or bear crops later and bear fruit from those crops. So that is really what a new moon is about. It's about setting your intentions, planting your seeds, you know, getting that whiteboard clean and starting to write new things on that whiteboard, okay? So that's new moon energy in a nutshell. There's another component of new moon energy where right before the light starts gaining, right? Because a new moon is when it's at its total darkness, where that light is completely blocked out because the sun and the moon are aligned, okay? And they're aligned in the same place, which means that that entire light is being blocked out. But the darkness component of that light being blocked out is something we should also pay attention to during the time of the new moon, because before that light starts gaining, right? So as it's going to start from the new moon and start gaining through its waxing phase and then eventually going into the full moon phase, before that there's this period of darkness, and it's a brief period of darkness, but the darkness is important because darkness is really about where that reset happens. It's really about the rebirth. It's about that transformation, that mini rebirth process, and also the cleansing aspect that it brings. So it's kind of when you're wiping that board clean, that is that darkness, right? Before you can have that clean board to write new things on it, you've got to wipe it clean, and the darkness is where you wipe it clean. So I hope that that kind of helps you wrap your mind around the new moon in general and what that time period is best utilized for. Now, when we have another element like a solar eclipse happening at the time of this new moon, what does that mean, okay? And this one being a total solar eclipse is that the moon, the sun, and the earth are in alignment, and there is a total blackout, okay? There's a total blackout, a total casting of shadow on the sun, all right? And when we have that type of energy, first of all, eclipses just take moon energy and amplify it. It's like moon energy on steroids, okay? So if you're experiencing a full moon and you're having a lunar eclipse, it's that full moon on steroids. Same thing with the new moon, right? And same thing with the solar eclipse aspect. But when there is a total, all right, when that light is fully blocked out, okay, we have something that is really, really intense, really powerful, really transformative. And with lunar eclipses, the transformation is very much focused internally because it's about, you know, more of the feminine aspects. It's about the inner self, the emotions, a lot of the inner needs, security, and things like that. When it's the solar eclipse, it's more outwardly projected. It is external. It is in your face. It is transformation outside of thyself that you cannot ignore. But the transformation always starts inside, right? So we just experienced our lunar eclipse maybe, what, 2 weeks ago at this point, and now we're experiencing the solar eclipse that takes us to that outward transformation, okay? So that is really a lot what the total solar eclipse brings in. It brings in that external transformation, those new beginnings, new opportunities, change. It's all about change and dramatic, powerful change that is long lasting. We're gonna see it for a while, okay? The Sagittarius energy is great, right? Because when you're coming out of Scorpio season, you're coming out of this intensity, this kind of like a little bit more darkness, emotional, that depth, that inner, like, you know. Scorpio energy can be very, very beautiful, but it's also very heavy. And when you get to Sagittarius energy, it is uplifting, it is fun, it is spontaneous, it's adventurous, it's optimistic, it's loving, playful, just kind of wants to be free, just wants to learn and just experience and explore. And you know, Sagittarius energy is just a really, really good time of like being upbeat and socializing, connecting with others. And that's why this energy really takes us through the holiday season, because of a lot of that Jupiterian influence, which is really positive, which is optimistic, which is just happy and cheerful, wants to be extravagant, wants to eat and play and do all the things, right? But then on the other flip side of that, can be very avoidant of responsibilities, does not want to be disciplined, does not want to do what's necessary, what needs to get done, wants to start something and move on to the next thing very quickly, and then is very, very like opposed to anything that is like going to lock it in a box. Like, no, I need to be free, I need to spread my wings, right? So Sagittarius energy is a lot about those themes, and you're gonna see that really be something that's highlighted in your own individual lives, depending on what area of life that is for you, depending on the house placement of this eclipse, and just other things, other aspects and conversations that the other planets are having. So let's just go ahead and get into that, because and before I say that, I will say, even though Sagittarius energy is really about all this fun, loving, adventure, freedom, it really moves with a wisdom, because Sagittarius or Sagittarian energy is about truth. It is about that higher level truth. It is about that higher level knowledge and wisdom. So it does move with a sense of wisdom, okay? So as we're moving towards this freedom, this independence, we want it on both a mental and a physical aspect. And that wisdom, the things that we've been through, the places that we've gone, and that's really a lot that's going on in Sagittarius season. If you guys haven't watched the Sagittarius season video, I would highly suggest it. But a lot of what we've been diving into, and we will be diving into the Sagittarius season and facing, is the past, okay? Because the Sagittarius sun and a lot of Sagittarius placements or planets in Sagittarius are moving over the South Node. And the South Node is really connected to the past. It's our karma, it's our lessons, and a lot of the past coming back up and being presented so that we can make different decisions, okay? Or that we can tie up loose ends and things like that. So, you know, as we're moving with the wisdom of the past, we are moving towards the future. We are moving towards our intended path, but we have to gain the knowledge from those lessons in order to apply them, okay? So the first thing that I'll talk to you transit-wise, right? So some of the aspects, and when we talk about aspects in astrology, it's really the conversations with the planets. How are they communicating with each other? The first aspect is Mercury conjunct this eclipse or this new moon, right? So when we have a conjunction, you have the planets that are tightly, like they're close together. And when they're close together, they're just blending their energies, okay? So Mercury is also in the sign of Sagittarius. What this is putting a focus on for us is transforming our thoughts and opening up our communication with others, okay? This is really a time of connection, and you're gonna see that continuously come up. So the rational mind and the emotional mind are actually on one accord here because of these two planets, the sun, the moon, and Mercury being so tightly intertwined here, okay? So with that, we're feeling more optimistic, and our connection, our general need or willingness or our want, our desire to connect with others is really, really high during this time. What we also have in terms of conversation or aspect-wise that's happening is that this eclipse is going to be opposite Black Moon Lilith in Gemini, okay? Black Moon Lilith is very interesting. Every time we talk about Black Moon Lilith, I'm like, how do I convey Lilith's energy? And Lilith's energy, all I can say is like, it's like primal instincts. It is just the rawness of an individual. That is all I can say it is. Lilith wants freedom, wants independence, wants to just be free and to do her thing. Wants to be able to do her thing in her way with very little restriction, okay? And when that is not granted, can just get into a whirlwind, right? So you can bring some chaos in. The need for freedom and your emotions tied to that will be driving your decisions at this time. So you have to be careful a little bit with this, right? Impulsive actions fueled by anger, incorrect assumptions, paranoia, insecurity, and all of this is just tied for the need for mental and physical freedom. This can really cause you to sabotage yourself. You'll be feeling more rebellious because, like I said, Lilith can bring chaos when she's not happy, okay? So you're feeling more rebellious because of your strong need for independence and freedom, which are your top priorities. All right, so the next aspect we have during this eclipse is that this new moon is going to be trining Chiron in Aries. And Chiron is the wounded healer. It's our deepest wounds, our deepest internal wounds that we have been carrying with us and we've carried from the previous lifetime, and we're trying to work through to balance in this lifetime, okay? So with it in Aries, it's a lot tied to our self-identity, who we are, the essence of who we are at the core. And a lot of that comes up during this time. So with this trine, the trine really means that, you know, there is an opportunity, there's a harmony, there's a synergistic energy or exchange between the sun, moon, and Chiron, and a chance for healing of those wounds. So this is a chance, it's bringing chances to bring positive energy and opportunities in addressing your past wounds and trauma. So this is a really good way to help us work through some of those Chiron issues that we're dealing with in this lifetime. With the energy turning around from it being a place of, you know, your wounds and your traumas dragging you down, it can be a time where you can bring some empowerment to that. So these past wounds are actually what's going to help fuel you on your mission ahead, turning them around, bringing some optimism, some learning lessons, that wisdom that we talked about with Sagittarius's energy, okay? You become a resource of nurturing and validation for those who can learn from your wisdom, from those who learn from your lessons, the things that you struggle with and now you're ready to communicate, okay? So that's a lot of beautiful energy here, but I want to make sure that you know that it's present. The next aspect that we're going to be having conversations with the planets, all right, is that this new moon is going to be sextile Saturn and Jupiter, which are both in the sign of Aquarius. And a sextile is just an ease of communication. It's like, you know, we're passing things back and forth that's helping each other, all right? So with this energy, with this moon and the sun, sextile Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius, there is a lot about working with others on a common goal. Optimism, harmony, being socialistic and social, you know, just being sociable. These are the things that are coming up. There's a willingness to share deeper feelings and connect with others. So the whole thing about connecting with others is huge. Working with others is huge. And that wisdom coming to the forefront is great for us during this particular eclipse. The other thing that is happening, or the last thing I will say aspect wise that is happening, is that this eclipse will be square Neptune in Pisces. Now, a square presents a challenge. It is tension because, you know, they're just kind of gridlocked in kind of two different places, right? So with Neptune in Pisces, Neptune is really tied to our intuition. It's also tied to what can be a lot of illusions or deceptions for ourselves, our creativity, our imagination. There's a lot that goes on with Neptune. I don't even think I know all of Neptune energy and everything that it encompasses. But with this tension between the sun, moon, and Neptune, we have an opportunity for us to really help and connect with others, but I'm gonna put that but in there. We have to be aware that we can also be very easily deceived. Like, we're more sensitive, we want to help others, and we shouldn't be discouraged from doing that. But there is really a strong need to tap into your intuition, to use discernment in, you know, dealing with other people, because this is a time of highly connecting with others and helping others and really, like, you know, going deeper in those types of connections. But, you know, people are not all on the same wavelength, right? And some people can be deceiving you. So using that intuition, using that discernment is very much key during this time. I hope that that gives you a little bit more insight, or kind of a general focus on some of the themes that are going to be coming up, some of the things that you can lean into in terms of what you can work with in terms of this energy to set your intentions, to either release, focus, like, you know, whatever you decide to do with this energy, this is all here for you, for your knowledge, so that you can use it to your advantage. Now, those of you who are working with herbs and crystals to, you know, do anything, any of your work during this time, I'm gonna go ahead and leave that down in the description box below. I'm not gonna mention it in the video, and I'm gonna go ahead and skip over to the rituals part. And when I say rituals, a lot of times people, when they hear eclipse energy and they're like, oh no, you should not be working any type of rituals or doing any manifestation during the time of an eclipse. I will say this to you. I am not here to tell you whether or not you should or should not work with this energy. That is up to you, your own intuition and your own discernment. Read the room. That's what I say. Read the room, read the energy. If the energy at hand, that's what I do. If the energy at hand seems positive and in my favor, I'm looking at my chart, I'm seeing a lot of positive things, a lot of opportunity, I'm gonna capitalize on that. And I've had success working with eclipses. And then there are times I'm like, I read the room and I read the energy and I'm like, no, I'm not doing anything during this eclipse, but having several seats and healing and releasing and going into reflection. So again, it is up to you whether or not you want to work with this energy. So when I name these rituals, these are just things to think about. They're not necessarily things that you have to do, okay? So the first thing that I would recommend you thinking about this time is, what are some of the things that you can take action on? When I say take action on, it's, you know, Sagittarius energy is about moving and going and getting on to the next adventure and the next thing and diving in, right? But it's that more of that intuitive knowing, like, what is your intuition pulling you on? Like, is there a path ahead that's being illuminated that you're ignoring? Are you being called to, like, put your energy or your focus into something and you're not? I would spend some time thinking about that. And if you have identified, maybe, like, you know, mapping out a plan. What are some steps of how I can take action on this instead of just kind of sitting back, twiddling my thumbs and not doing anything, okay? The second thing I would definitely think about is, because we talked about that escapism quality of, you know, Sagittarius energy, which is about evading a responsibility or being disciplined sometimes. And I won't say it's like all the time, but you know, it's very prevalent. What are the areas of life you can be more disciplined in? Because one thing about this energy is like it's excited to start something, but doesn't necessarily want to continue or finish, or loses interest very quickly and wants to jump on to the next new and exciting thing. So where are areas that you're being called to be more disciplined, things that you can tie up, you could wrap up, you can bring your focus back around to because you easily deviated from? Just calling out a lot of those habits and seeing, you know, where you can tighten up, okay? The third thing that I would think about is, because this energy is very, very focused on working with others. We have seen that kind of like play out in all of the aspects. So how can you connect with others on, you know, whatever level you're at, deeper level, emotional level, mental level, spiritual level? How do you connect with others? How do you show up for others in your community? Just how can you be more present in general, okay? And then the last thing I would say, well, actually, second to last thing I would say is, because Sagittarius energy is very freedom seeking, fun loving, adventurous, how do you infuse more freedom and enjoyment into your life? What are the areas, what are the little things you can do to infuse that into your own life? Identify that, call that out, start putting, you know, things in motion, or start writing down things that you can do in order to bring those into your life. And then the last thing, here's the last thing, is this energy is very creative, and it's all about finding solutions to issues, to problems. So maybe giving yourself some space to really think and allow your creativity to flow, to think of some solutions to some problems, maybe not even in your own life, maybe in, you know, your community, people around you, at work, at school, at home, whatever, you know, in the world. Allowing that creativity to flow and allowing those solutions to come to the forefront, okay? So that is all that I have for you on this Sagittarius new moon solar eclipse. It's a mouthful, okay? I hope you found this information helpful and it helps guide you with working with this energy for this upcoming eclipse. Again, use your own intuition, your own discernment on what you would like to do. This information is just to help you along your journey, okay? My Sagittarians, where y'all at? Where my Sagittarians at? Sun, moon, rising. Anybody with Sagittarians, I have a Sagittarian, so I love Sagittarius energy. I love it, I love it, I love it. All my favorite planets are in Sagittarius. Honestly, all my favorite planets are in Sag energy in my chart, so I love that. If you do not have any Sagittarius placements, go on ahead and leave the house that Sagittarius rules for you down below. And I'm looking forward to kind of like reading your comments, and, you know, let me know what you plan on doing with this energy too, or how you're feeling overall in general, okay? So I hope you have a good moon, new moon, solar eclipse, and I will see you all in the next one. Have a good one. Peace.